Hi,
Hola.
everybody. Excuse you. We are the Gaming Stooges.
We are the Gaming
Are
Stooges.
we?
We are
Yeah,
the
I'm pretty
Gaming
sure.
Stooges.
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure we are.
Thank
Three,
God.
3/4 of us, at least. Um,
So, one of us is the gaming stooge, the other ones are the guest stars.
Sure.
Okay.
Lad and I the other day were thinking like, we don't do Mario games on this channel enough. We've done 2 of them, and one of them was a spin-off. And
We've done
those were like
3, 4.
4. Have we?
Captain Toad, Luigi's Mansion, Mario
Oh
Bros,
yeah.
and
I forgot. I forgot about Captain Toad and
Yeah.
Luigi's Mansion. One of those was mine, and I forgot
Yeah,
about
wow.
it.
Mario.
Wow, great job.
and I mean, we
So we
did
figure
do some stuff from Mario Maker 1, but
Anyway,
yeah, we digress.
like, hey, let's do more Mario content for this channel because we like dedicate a fucking Sonic game every June. So, let's
give Mario some love.
yeah to some generally better games.
Sure.
We're gonna do our top 10 Mario games. The 3 of us. Justin's
Ooh.
not here because he doesn't care because he's a ween.
That's a band.
It is a band. Okay, he's a peen.
Ah. Okay.
Anyway,
So yeah, we're just gonna count down or oh yeah, platformers only. We're
Yeah.
spin-offs we'll probably do in another video.
because there's enough spin-offs to get its own video.
Yeah, and there's enough platformers to do its own video too. So like
Mhm.
we'll do spin-offs another time,
But
not
right now
necessarily
we're
soon.
exclusively sticking with core Mario gameplay games.
Yep.
So
Okay.
we'll just go right down the line. Start with your number 10.
Yeah, I'll just start, yeah, right now. Okay, so my number 10 is Super Mario Brothers 2 USA. This is not technically a Mario game. Well, it is a Mario game, but it wasn't originally a Mario game. Everybody knows this was originally Doki Doki Panic in Japan, which is why it's so different from a usual Mario game. You don't jump on, well, you do jump on things. You pick things up like turnips and potions, and you create doors, and it's a very
You throw shit.
throwing shit is like the key thing.
It's the big thing.
It's yeah. I mean, overall, I mean, it's not, it wasn't originally a Mario game, but I think the game it's really unique. It's very it's generally very fun. It has good level design. You have 4 characters to choose from, each with their own unique attributes, and it also has like cool boss fights that aren't just hey, kill or
Jump on that guy
jump
3
over
times.
Bowser and flip the switch. So and the music is really good too. I like the music a lot. So yeah, so that's my number 10.
Oh, was that it? That was kind of
Um,
abrupt. Anyway, my number
Yeah,
10 is Super
I don't
Mario
know.
3D World.
Cool.
It's the second of the Mario 3D games after Mario Land. It has 4 playable characters, also ironically. Well, actually, there's a 5th one, I think. Yeah, there's a 5th one you can unlock. So it's like top-down, like isometric 3D. It's not like full, it's not like behind the back 3D, but just like 3D Land. It's the level designs are mostly the same as like the other new games and like 3D Land, but there's also some like stuff you would find in more like another actual like 3D Mario game, like Mario 64 or Mario Galaxy. Like there's like, I think the level where you have to ride on like these cars or something, or I don't remember. But it was a lot of fun, but I think I was a little drained after 3D Land, and I don't really think it brought enough new to the table, despite being just a solid game, so that's about all I have to say about it.
My number 10 is Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Wii Switch.
Wii Switch!
Yes.
Yes.
Odyssey's a fun one. It is a return to a more proper 3D platformer, like 64 and Sunshine, since Sunshine was basically the last one, that was in the, like, you go to different hub worlds type area 3D, platformer game. The main premise is, you throw Cappy, which is a demon-possessed hat that Mario now wears. And you can now possess other creatures, including humans, RC cars, dinosaurs, birds, whatnot, tanks. There's a lot of stuff that you end up getting to control, which adds sort of different elements to gameplay, and it lets you think about the levels in a different light that you might not necessarily, because you have all these additional power-ups at your disposal, depending on what level you are. There's a lot of great kingdoms that you get to explore in it, and it's just visually a really good game, and sound quality-wise, the soundtrack is really good as well. That's my brief description on that one.
On to
Okay.
our number 9s.
My number 9 is Super Mario 64. The original 3D Mario game, a launch title for the Nintendo 64. It was kind of the first 3D platformer. Not necessarily the first. It kind of was, actually.
It was the
it's
game that really revolutionized the genre, because there was
Yes.
a lot of experimentalization early on.
Because there was a shitload of 3D platformers in the late 90s, and this is kind of the catalyst for those. Overall, for like the first 3D platformer, it is a very good one. The game is very well designed. It's like a pseudo open world, but not really. I mean, I wouldn't really call it even like pseudo open world, but like it's very like different from the usual Mario formula of, hey, here you drop you in the first part of a level, get to the end of it, and this one instead is like, hey, here's a big like box, find the star, and there's usually 8 of them in a box, and there's a bunch of different worlds to explore. I think the game, like level design wise is very good. I think just generally it was a very, like, I don't want to say ahead of its time for a 3D platformer, but it is like overall very just well designed. God, I'm repeating myself already.
That's okay. I'll be doing the same.
The music is really good. The main reason why it's not any higher on my list is because this is the first N64 game. It controls like fucking shit by today's standards. Like, it is legitimately, Mario is a slippery goddamn motherfucker.
Slimy ass tankish controls.
It's really, it's like for its time, it controlled well. It's very fluid, but Mario is very slippery, and the controls can lead to some very like frustrating deaths. So like just for the fact that it hasn't aged very well, I don't really enjoy it as much as I would back in the day, but like it's still a very good game and well designed overall.
My number 9 is New Super Mario Brothers, which was released on the Nintendo 3DS. Nintendo DS, not 3DS.
The
God.
DS.
Words. It was the first 2D Mario platformer on a handheld that wasn't just a remake or port in... Well, did I say handheld? It was the first one since, like, the Game Boy.
Yeah, it was the first in general.
It was since the Game Boy ones. And it was also the first 2D Mario platformer in general in quite a long time. It, stylistically was, at the time, new. Not so much nowadays, but that's besides the point. The platforming, though, very solid. The level design, the aesthetics, just the way that they presented the game overall is very nostalgic. It uses a lot of assets and ideas from, well, previous 2D Mario games. Specifically, I saw a lot of Mario 1 and Mario 3 shades in there. Especially with the world map structure and the way they use power-ups and stuff like that. Also, it was the first... since it was the first 2D Mario game in a while, it was the first time that they didn't, like, use the fucking Koopalings and shove those down our throats. It came with a ton of mini-games. I don't know if you ever played the mini-games, Jack.
Oh yeah, the minigames are fun.
Oh yeah, the minigames are really fun. I can't put it higher just because of the fact that, well, it is a stale formula at this point, and if I go back to play it, yeah, the levels are still fun, but, like, they're a little bit more forgettable now than when I first played New Super Mario Bros. Because it's just drowned in the New Super Mario Bros. Style. That's just... yeah. So that's the only reason why I can't put it higher. Also, there's a lack of more power-up variety because it was more, like I said, it was more on Mario 1 where, like, you had, like, a very small selection of power-ups. It's not like Mario 3 or Mario World, like, they have a little bit more selection. But still a fun game.
My number 9 is Super Mario Brothers 3. Where's that damn fly? So Mario Brothers 3 is a very well designed game. But it is this far down on the list because, I don't know, I don't really have the, I guess, nostalgia factor for it. I played it a little bit growing up, but, as Jack and I discussed in, the Super Mario Maker 2 live, stream that we did the other night,
Stream.
I didn't beat this game until the both of us like did a co-op run on the Nintendo Switch Online, like NES catalog the other year, like last year. I do in fact enjoy this game a lot. I know I had a lot of fun playing with him. It's just it's all I have to say is it's a fun game, and it's definitely a Mario staple.
Oh yeah, it's my
Yeah.
turn.
Yes.
My number 8 is Super Mario Sunshine. Super Mario Sunshine is the first game for the first platform, the first Mario game, not the first platforming Mario game on the GameCube. It is unique in the sense that it has a new mechanic with FLUDD. You can spray water, you can float, you can use Jet Booster. There Yoshi's in it. That's cool. If you bring a fruit to an egg. Overall, the game is pretty fun. I like it a lot. Even though, like, I would say overall, design-wise, it's probably worse than the 64. But, like, I think the game has aged a lot better, being that it's a GameCube game. And the game is still really fun. There are some, like, pretty frustrating aspects to the game. Some levels just straight up fucking suck. The floodless missions are really hard, but, like, not unfair, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's like I could, like, go on and complain about the things that I don't like, but overall, I mean, I really love the summer beach aesthetic that the entire game has. I really love the worlds that you explore in the game. I wish there was more of them, because they do try and cram a lot of shine sprites into each world, more so than previously. So I mean, there's that. But overall, I mean, the game is a fun time. Just going for 100% can be kind of a bitch.
Alright, my number 8 is Super Mario World. It's actually probably kind of low on my list relative to a lot of other people who've probably played Super Mario World. And I think the main reason is that I did play it a lot as a kid, but I don't really have nostalgia for it. It's really well designed overall. I do like the world map. I do like the way that the different worlds are split up in the different branching pathways you can do by getting secret exits and stuff like that. And I do like the level aesthetics, but the level design itself was oftentimes a little frustrating because it is built around some mechanics that are used in just Mario World and then like almost never again. Like the spin jump is basically unique to that game, if I remember correctly. I don't remember playing any other 2D Mario games that really utilize it. And the way that it has like secret paths and stuff feels a little bit less like a more basic standard 2D platform and more like kind of like a slightly Metroidvania-esque. Because it's more elaborate than they do it in other games, which is probably why I'm not as fond of it, because it puts a little bit more hardcore exploration, and I'm more like skill-based platformer kind of guy. I just like my arc. I like to like test my ability to jump through platforms, not to find different locations. Although it is still a fun game overall, and I did enjoy my time with it. Another reason why it's probably not high up on my list is, although it is a little bit better at it than New Super Mario Brothers, it also a lot of people are going to find out as my list goes on. Spoiler alert: I like a lot of Mario games that give you a lot of power-ups, a lot of different ones. And there's like the feather, there's the mushroom, there's the fire flower, and they're all really good. Like the cape is really really good, but like other than that, it's like still a really fun game though. I like it, just not as much as a lot of other people do.
My number 8 is the original Super Mario Bros. Game. It is it's the 2D platforming standard. It is what basically designed the genre, and is why we have these games that we do. I mean, Donkey Kong is why we have these games that we do, but for like the platformer like series. This is the game that set it on its track for Mario 3 World, blah 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 down the road. It's still like to this day has like level design wise, it is some of the best platforming that you can do with the limited hardware that they were given. It is there's a lot that you are able to do with this, considering like there's only like 5 different block types or whatever within the game. The developers were very smart at being able to teach the player what they needed to know in terms of setting up enemies, showing you what is good, what is bad, how to get over stuff. Towards the end of the game, they like, especially World 8, there is a couple really kind of bullshit jumps that you have to go through. But outside of that, this game is still like a really solid experience. And that is all I have to say.
Jack, number 7.
What's my number 7? Oh, there it is. My number 7 is Super Mario 3D World. Super Mario 3D World is a Wii U game that came out in 2013, I think. Similarly to Mario 2 USA, you have 4 playable characters, all with unique attributes.
But
like Cloud said, it's kind of a 2D-ish in design game put in 3 dimensions. And while I prefer like the traditional 3D Mario formula, I do like this game a lot because it's really fun. I think the game is really well designed. The cat suit is really good and fun. The playing a 3D Mario game with 4 people is hell, but it's also really fun. It just because it's like it's obviously like very difficult just because it's very hectic and chaotic, but it's also a very fun time in general. It's got good music, the game looks really nice, and yeah, that's it. It's a good game.
Alright. My number 7 is actually previously mentioned on this list. Jack's number 8, Super Mario Sunshine. I actually, hot take, really, really enjoy Sunshine. Um, I,
It's not really a hot take anymore.
I mean, it is starting to get a little bit more common for people to like Sunshine, but the fact of the matter is it's really interesting, especially with Flood. The spraying water to like get rid of like sludge and stuff, or using them as a jetpack to platform. Just really interesting and unique ideas that put a nice spin on the Mario formula, but like not in a way that makes it kind of foreign, because it still feels like you have like a power up, but it's like it's got more depth to it, I guess. I really love the soundtrack. Like the soundtrack of Super Mario Sunshine is top grade in my opinion, which is probably why I like it so much, because I kind of put a lot of merit on music when I talk about what my favorite games are. That's pretty well known at this point. But no, really fun game. I think it's a little hard at times, a little bullshit, a little frustrating, but it is the set pieces a lot of the time are stuff that I like. I still remember to this day, like the tower where you go up to go after like Petey Piranha, or like the giant sun panel that's like on like a little on like a rock, and like it like tilts around and stuff like that. Like that's really cool. But yeah, Super Mario Sunshine is actually probably one of my more favorite, even in the 3D games, probably one of my favorites, just because of like the design and the music and stuff like that. But
Let it go.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. So my number 7 is Super Mario 3D Land, the 3DS entry in the 3D game series. This is the first one of it, and it was definitely heavily influenced by Mario Brothers 3. A la Tanuki suit is shoved in your throat. It's like it was in the marketing. It's like in basically every single level. They made a special version, so if you suck at the game, you can power through it. While the main campaign, the normal 8 worlds, is pretty standard, pretty easy for a Mario game. Even for a Mario game, it's a pretty easy run through. They're all super fun. The thing that makes it really good is actually the special worlds, which are very challenging, especially towards the last 4. They are a really good challenge, especially if you're going for the gold coin things in each level. And the soundtrack is pretty fun. Most of the levels in the later half are, I think, really well designed as well. And outside of the fact that the Tanuki suit is being shoved in your face, it's a pretty fun game.
Are you done?
I did stop talking. Yes.
Okay. I just
True.
really
Fair
tell.
point.
Okay. My number 6. Is that what number we're on?
Yes, 6.
Yeah. Okay. My number 6 is Super Mario Odyssey.
Oh, okay. I have to butt in here because that's also my number 6. Let's talk about it.
Oh boy.
Let's talk about it.
Oh boy.
We can't go one list without 2 people sharing an entry somewhere.
Super Mario Odyssey was released for the Nintendo Switch in 2017. It goes back to the original
3D Mario formula.
3D Mario formula.
First time since Mario Galaxy 2.
Yeah, it's like I said that Super Mario 64 was kind of but not really pseudo open world. This game
Actually
is
pretty much is, yeah.
Pretty much is like a pseudo open world game.
There's still a division of worlds that you go to, but goddamn are they massive, sprawling.
They're huge, and there is like a shit ton of moons in this game.
Oh my god, yeah.
To collect.
What,
isn't there like 997 total or something?
You can get 990 some odd moons, but I believe that the amount that there's actually like you can like collect I can't remember if it was like, it was still a ridiculous number. Was it 500? Was it
It's like
700?
I think it's 600
Yeah, it's
something.
crazy the amount of moons that are in
It's
that game.
they're like
They're everywhere.
everywhere.
They are everywhere.
And I feel like, a problem that might it's like, hey, wouldn't that make like finding a moon like less special if there's millions of them? Well, I mean, there are still like also goals in each level to like get to that that net you like a more satisfying reward. Like you have like boss fights that get you 3 moons instead of just one.
Yeah.
Um
I think what I like about how they handle moons is that, yes, while there's a ton of them, except for like here, there are like just a couple of moons that are mostly just placed in like benchmark, like checkpoint-ish areas to like be like, hey, you reached this area for the first time. Like a lot of moons are actually, you do a little thing on the side and you get rewarded with a moon. Like you go into a pipe and you do this little challenge, you get a moon. You find this little wall that has a 2D platforming section, you get to the end of it, you get a moon. It just feels really rewarding to actually explore because there's a moon everywhere at the end of a small little challenge that you can complete.
so yeah, overall the game is very fun. Getting moons is fun. The game looks real nice. The game has great music.
Yes, good music, yes. Looks fantastic. Beautiful.
Yeah. So show the fuck up. So yeah, it's a good game. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. I think all I'm gonna add to it is that I do really like the different worlds that they put in there. There's a world based on food, which is really fun. And then there's obviously New Donk City, which everyone knows about because of the trailers and stuff. But they do throw a curveball at the end. I'm not gonna spoil it because it is kind of spoilers, but they do something really awesome. And like if you've played the games that it's like referencing, it's like, oh, it's so good. And I got suckered in, and it's just a really good game to just explore in, whether or not you're aiming to collect all the moons or not. Like, just it is basically sandboxy like that, and it works really well for the Mario formula, I think.
My number 6
We're both
is
you're all set.
Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins. So this was, I mean, it's the second game in the Land series, which is like then spun off into the Wario, because Wario was introduced in this game actually. We're just going to talk about that. This is basically the first game that Wario is in. He gets mad at Mario, if I remember right, and steals his mansion or something. And so you have to go around and get the 6 coins so you can beat the crap out of Wario. This one, so Mario Land 1 is very, very similar to the original Mario Bros. In that they basically took the original Super Mario Bros. And shoved it on a Game Boy and gave it its own little spin to make it its own game. This is more akin to Mario Brothers 3 and World in terms of like graphic design, and sort of more like 3 in terms of like level design, and it's got like its own like hub world that you will run around in to pick what level you want to go in. I think all the like worlds that you enter are like, they're all really good. There's one where you go into space. There's a tree one, like a forest one that was really good. I love this. It does some like weirder things with it. Has some weirder power-ups. Music is really good, and it's just a fun run through that basically anyone can pick up and play. That's all I have to say.
I will say that sadly, Super Mario Land 2 is not anywhere on my list, not because I didn't like it, but because I didn't even get to play it, and I've heard so many good things about it, and I really wish I could have played it. But I will get around to it.
It is a good one.
Mario Land 2 was almost on my list.
Jack, it's time for your number 5.
Almost.
We're already halfway through.
My number 5 is Super Mario Brothers 3 for the NES.
That's not a word. That's a name.
No, shut up. He's a character in Smash
Exactly,
Brothers.
it's a name. It's not a Nintendo's
Um,
platform.
shut up. Mario 3 is one of the last NES games. Well, not actually, not really. One of the last Nintendo published NES games. I don't even know if that's true or not. Either way, it was pretty late into the system's life cycle. And
Nah, it wasn't one of the last ones. Because there's still a few. Kirby's Adventure came out like 3 years later. But anyway.
well, never mind then. It was the last Mario game. We'll say that. Although that's probably
Mario
wrong too.
platformer.
The last Mario yeah, sure.
Anyway.
So it was a big step up from the previous 3 games. Although if 3 games, if you count if you count Lost Levels,
I mean, it is its own game.
which I mean didn't have a worldwide release at the time, so no. And also that game sucks, so no.
Because you suck at it.
No, it's because the game fucking sucks. The level design is
like I said, you
bullshit,
suck
and the
at
entire game is just a rehash of Mario 1. Anyway, no, fuck you. The game sucks. Anyway, Mario 3 is a good game that looks really good. Like for an NES game, it actually looks fucking fantastic. It has some really good level design. It has some really nice like colors and visuals in general. I like the music. It has more than just 2 songs, 3 songs.
Thank God.
And it has some like unique like world layouts and all that instead of just like, hey grass world, hey grass world, hey grass world. And yeah, and it also introduced the Koopalings. They're like, pretty much all the same, but like they're a little different. And also had a bunch of unique and fun power-ups. And really my only complaint with the game is that there's no checkpoints at all. And most of the levels are short enough so that that's not really a problem, but some levels go on for a bit long, and the lack of checkpoints like makes that pretty frustrating. But I mean, overall, the game is great. I like it a lot.
My number 5 is Super Mario 64, another game that was already mentioned on this countdown. I'm not going to get into too many details. Jack already covered it. It was the first Mario 3D game. It was also had a very sandboxy feel for its time. It controls like ass nowadays, but it was revolutionary when it came out. It was a really fun game. It still is very fun. I just like the levels a lot. I think the levels are just a natural 3D progression of what was going on in the 2D Mario games at the time. The different worlds are fun, and also I like being a sadist that throws penguins off of cliffs in the ice level. But yeah, there's not much else that needs to be said that Jack didn't already cover. It's just a really solid game that started off what would be the 3D Mario formula as we know it today.
My number 5 is Donkey Kong 94.
I was gonna say
the Game Boy one.
I expected that.
See, I know you expected it because can I count Donkey Kong? And you went,
and I knew you wouldn't pick the original.
Well, I mean, I technically have, because the original game is in this, and then it
That
has
is
like
true.
1,000 other levels afterwards. So
It has an actual game after that.
Yeah, basically. So this specific version of Donkey Kong, the Game Boy one, is, like I literally just said, starts off as the Donkey Kong arcade game, and then afterwards it becomes what is known as the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, which is kind of similar to like a normal Mario platformer, except all the levels are pretty digestible, and usually it involves grabbing a key and then running to a door, and it's usually like levels are not long stretches of running to the right. It's more so running around in this whatever world. Mario gets a lot of like unique moves in this in terms of like different jumps and stuff, and it is definitely a fun one. if you are going to be playing Donkey Kong, you might as well just play this version because it is its own version of the game, and it does the original part, but then it adds on like a really good game at the end. That's all I have. Please move on. Please, God, move on.
Okay. My number 4 is Super Mario World
Hey, guess what?
2 Yoshi's Island.
Hey, guess what?
Hey, guess what?
That's a good game.
It is a
Oh.
good game. That's why it's my number 4.
He's not gonna talk about it with you though.
Yeah, pulled a fast one. Well, I asked Landon, and I'm like, "Hey, can I put this on my list?" And he was like, "I'll let you put this one on your list because Mario is a central character, and also his name is in the title." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Cool." So, technically, the first of the Yoshi series, Yoshi's Island was the sequel, kind of. I mean, in name, pretty much a name only, to Super Mario World, where instead of your Mario riding on Yoshi, you're Mario riding on Yoshi, except you're controlling Yoshi.
Except you're controlling Yoshi instead of Mario.
And Mario's a baby. So I feel like a lot of people I mean, obviously this game has like crazy high praise, and it's like, you know, everybody loves it, but I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate it enough because this game is really amazing. Actually, it's like visually, I love like I don't know if you would call it like oil painting or like, I don't know. It has a very unique art style to it.
It feels like crayons.
Yeah, it's like crayons. You know, like it was like, you know, drawn by a child.
It's a crafty art style, we'll say.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
One could say it's
And-
a Yoshi's crafted world.
But we're not talking about
No.
that game.
Sorry.
It's okay. But yeah, overall, like mechanically, like the big difference between it and like Mario games is that you're controlling Yoshi, and instead of having like a life meter, well, I mean, you do kind of have a life meter. You carry Mario, and when you get hit, you lose Mario, and you have a timer that counts down, and but you need to catch Mario before the timer gets to 0. Because if you do, he gets taken away, and that's a death. But I mean, functionally, it controls it functions very much like a normal Mario game. The game has some really good level design, and really fantastic music. I love the music in this game, and some pretty unique boss fights actually. Overall, it's just a really, really good game. 100%ing it is a bitch. I've never done it, and I probably never will because it's like stupidly hard. But yeah, it's a good game. I like it a lot.
My number 4 is Super Mario Brothers 2 USA. Yeah, it's kind of high on my list because I like it. It's the first instance of yeah, it's Doki Doki Panic reskin, but I don't care. It introduced us to having several playable character options. It introduced us to a lot of characters in the Mario series that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise, like Shy Guys and Birdo and Bob-Ombs. I'm pretty sure were also here for the first time. I don't remember them being in a game before that. Level design wise, I mean, it's Doki Doki Panic, and it's great actually. I like how they utilize the picking up and throwing stuff mechanic, and the level aesthetics are pretty memorable in my opinion. The music's really good. I like the boss battles. As been said, it's a lot more than just jumping on a thing 3 times or what have you, because it uses the different mechanic of picking up and throwing stuff to its advantage to make it a little more different. But yeah, I mean, it might not have been planned to be a Mario game at first, but the fact that it's had so much of an influence on some of the weirder stuff we have in Mario games today, I think it deserves a lot more praise than it might get sometimes. That's all I'm going to say about it, though.
My number 4 would probably be Super Princess Peach if I ever played it. But I haven't,
you didn't,
so it's definitely
so-
not that. So instead, will suffice for my number 4 slot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game, rinse and repeat. That's my haiku. I don't know how to structure a haiku, so it's probably not a haiku, but
It's 575, Landon. Come on.
okay, let me try this. Fuck. All right, how's that? Anyway, Super Mario World. Take all of the reasons Cloud hates the game with a passion, and that's why I love it.
I didn't say I was passionate about it.
Hate it. Hate it with a
I didn't
passion.
say I hate
He
it.
hates
I
it
enjoyed
with a
it.
passion.
Why would I say I hate it if
He has
it's still on my list?
venomous spite against the game. All of that is why I love it. I absolutely love all the hidden exits. I love the Star Road. And if you know what you're doing, you can literally beat the game without completing 90% of it. You can skip right to Bowser's Castle, beat the game, call it good. Of course, that's not where the fun of the game comes from. It comes from, playing all the levels and stuff, but for those who, it's sort of like a nod to those that have gone through and played the game enough to know where all the exits are to be able to just jump straight to the end of the game is cool. The power-up list is pretty fun. Visually, it's really good. And for the most part, all the levels are designed really well. And the thing that makes this better than Mario Brothers 3, and because a lot of times those two are compared a lot, it has fucking checkpoints.
Truth.
It has fucking checkpoints. That's not the real reason that it's so much higher. I played more of this growing up than Mario Brothers 3, so I have more of a fondness. Nostalgia plays into a factor for all of this anyway, so whatever.
Yeah.
That said, it's an excellent game that can be easily picked up today and still play through. There's a reason why people will go out of their way to rebuy a Super Nintendo just to play this game. Okay, you can talk about your
Number 3.
your filthy, disgusting garbage, Jack.
Yeah. What?
Whatever your number 3 is.
Okay, my number 3 is Super Mario
Oh my
World.
god, filthy, disgusting
Oh,
garbage. Wow.
The exact game that Landon just talked about, and then just called it filthy, disgusting garbage because it was Jack's next game.
Well, I knew it was going to be his next game because I know what his next 2 games are.
Oh,
After
yeah.
number 3.
Yeah. Okay. So Super Mario World. Excuse me. All those things that Landon said. This game is probably my second favorite 2D platformer behind Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is my favorite game, just that in general. So
But what about
it's kind of
Donkey Kong Country?
pretty hype.
So with that said, guys, we already know that the other 2 on Jack's list are not 2D Mario games.
Yes. So yeah, Mario World. This game has aged phenomenally well. This game came out in 1990, and it controls and plays perfectly.
I think you can say that
there-
about a bunch of Super Nintendo games, though.
That is true. The Super Nintendo in general has as a console and the games on the console have aged very, very well.
For the most part. There, of course,
for the most part.
there's games that have not, but
Yeah, the good ones have aged well.
Yeah.
The Super
Okay.
Nintendo is just a good aging machine.
Yeah. Mario World has fantastic level design. There's secret exits up the wazoo. There's tons of different paths to take, a bunch of unique levels and level worlds to play through. I think the game is somewhat challenging without being unfair. It's not it's not hard, but there are some challenging levels in the game, like Butter Bridge. Some of those levels are kind of a bitch. And yeah, overall, I just really love the game. One thing that I think is like underappreciated is that the entire soundtrack is just the main theme of the game remixed like 10 or 11 different
I
times,
mean,
and I never get sick of it.
that's what they did with New Super Mario Brothers and all of its sequels and so I mean,
Yeah.
it just worked.
But I mean, like, this was,
This is the game that did it.
yeah, this is the game that did it first, and I just absolutely love that. And it's like, it never gets old either. It's like, it's the same melody every time, but like, I never get sick of it. It's such a good song
It's
that
also
you hear.
ingrained into everyone's psyche at this point.
Yeah.
Although that could be said about
Um,
pretty much any Mario Brothers like theme, 1-3
Yeah.
world.
Um, and 2 to a lesser extent. But yeah, overall the game is fantastic, and I love it. And that's all.
My number 3 is New Super Mario Brothers Wii. Before the new Super Mario Brothers formula was shoved down our throats a million times, we got sick of it. This game came out as a follow-up to New Super Mario Brothers DS, and was the first game to really push the 4-player multiplayer Mario platforming experience. And it, although it is chaotic, it is fun, and it is disgusting the evil things you can do to your friends in that game. But moreover, the levels are just a lot of fun. It's just really well designed. I think the levels are challenging enough for me, but also fair. Having multiple players can sometimes make certain sections harder, but can also make certain sections easier. So I think it's overall pretty well balanced for having more than a couple of people playing at a time. The power-up selection is just, there's so many cool power-ups in that game. I love the ice flower. The penguin suit is also really good. The helicopter suit is really, really fun to use. And, I mean, world maps. I'm a sucker for world maps in Mario games. I don't know why. I really like a good world map, and the way that you can, like, go to branching paths on it to decide where you want to go next to progress through the world. Just something small like that is just something that new Super Mario Brothers Wii does really well, which is another reason why I like it. And although we did get a lot of games with the Koopalings being used over and over again, I think new Super Mario Brothers Wii did it pretty well, and it made boss levels overall a little bit more enjoyable than they could be otherwise. And having the bonus world after you beat the game, where you can like collect all the star coins of different worlds to unlock a whole other section of levels, while not done, not a new thing that's being done in this game, it's still got some really fun bonus levels. And it's like one of the only Mario games where I actually like bothered with like the extra bonus levels at all, to be honest with you. But just really, really fun to play alone, really, really fun to play with friends, and I think it's, for that, works out as a really good game overall.
My number 3 is Super Mario Galaxy 2 for the Nintendo Switch Wii. So I sat here and I thought, man, there's 2 Galaxy games, and I'm not going to put both on my list. Which one do I like? Oh, it's the Galaxy 2. That was easy, actually. I do enjoy Galaxy 1, but I think, personally, Galaxy 2 is the better package. It has Yoshi. I think it has a better set of worlds. That's going to be very opinion-based. A lot of people will think, are of the opinion that Galaxy 2 is basically Galaxy 1.5. It's just an expansion pack, which is true and fair. But I just like the levels and the worlds and some of the power-ups. Power-ups, especially in Galaxy 2, are a lot, like, they're just better in that game, because the first game has some pretty bad power-ups. They're all, for the most part, most of them are time-based and just not fun to use, whereas this one, it's all super fun. And I love the music, and that's about probably all I have to say on that.
On to our number twos then.
Pass.
He's gonna punch them both together, and then he's going to say which one he likes slightly more than the other.
Yeah, I can already tell how this is gonna go because I'm pretty sure I already know what his
You
number one and
know
number two
what
are.
they are. We all know what they
It's
are.
pretty obvious. So my number two is Super Mario 3D Land, which came out on the 3DS. It is the first Mario game to do what it did before Super Mario 3D World. Obviously, I mentioned that earlier in the list. It did it better, in my opinion. In fact, it's tailor-made for the handheld experience, where it's like these little bite-sized levels, but there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of them, and that's probably why I like Super Mario 3D Land more than anything. Is as Landon mentioned, there is a whole subset of special worlds that really opens the game up even more after you've quote-unquote beaten it, because it's like only half over when you actually beat the first set of levels. But they're all really, really fun. They're just short enough, but they're just diverse enough that it makes me want to play like basically all of them. And it's in fact one of the only Mario games where I've really dug my teeth really deep into fully exploring the levels as much as I did. The power-ups in the game are pretty diverse, and I like them for the most part. You got your returning stuff, like you got the Fire Flower, the Super Leaf makes a raccoon suit. They also have a boomerang suit, which is really fun to use. And after I hadn't really played a 3D Mario game at all, even though it's not like fully 3D, I hadn't played a 3D Mario game at all for a very long time before I played 3D Land, because I didn't really play that much of Galaxy 1 or 2. So it was refreshing to be able to move around in a 3D space, but because it was still familiar to me in a 2D style, it blends it really in a really good way. And I think they do a lot with the 3D in a way that like few other 3DS games do, because they don't really make use of their 3D, but like they actually make use of the 3D to really help with your platforming and like depth of like where certain platforms are. And that actually probably increased the experience a bit in a way that like it's kind of hard for other Mario games to have something that gives it that little extra boost, but it's great. It's just a really fun game. It's really well designed. Musically, it is just like Mario World and a lot of other games around that, where it's like, you know, basically like the same themes over and over, but again, done really well. And just tons of content, really solid platforming overall. I like it.
So, I'm going to preface my number two with New Super Mario Bros. DS is a shit game. Put that out there.
Okay.
That is now out there in the world. It is... I hated it. I hated playing it when it first came out. I cannot get back into it. Never played Wii. We're not going to talk about 2. New Super Mario Bros. U plus New Super Luigi U. So, Deluxe is my number 2. 1, because all the levels are all fantastic. I love going for the star coins. I fucking spent so much time in this. Getting all the star coins in both campaigns. I feel like the introduction of Nabbit as a character, a playable character, adds a lot. And then if you're playing the Switch version of this, Toadette with the crown is also very fun to play as. The baby Yoshis with their unique versions of power-ups, specifically there's like one that can turn into a balloon, is very fun to use in levels, as well as combining that and, say, the raccoon suit. There's a lot of fun challenges out there in the world. So that's I put New Super Mario Bros. U, the deluxe version. So you know, any of them are fine. I just go with one that has all the game in it. Is fine. I do love the Luigi challenges a lot, because while you don't have to be necessarily good at the like base game to get through, you do have to be good at the Luigi challenges. It is like the hardcore game, because all the levels are one redesigned for a shorter burst. So all the levels are 100 seconds long, but they are insane. They are very hard. This game, I feel, alleviates a little bit of the pain of four-playerness, because in the Wii U version, you actually have 5 players because someone can take control of the game pad and then can put blocks around to sort of play as a game master. This can help if you're just playing a single player. You can have a second person helping you get some of the really challenging coins. Or you can, they can also hinder you and sort of make additional challenges for you mid-level, so you have to do some, creative jumping around. So I put these games very high up because I hadn't really played 2D platformer at the time of the Wii U launch for quite some time, and this was I just ate the shit out of these games. Mario Bros. U and Luigi U. Yeah.
I will say I would have these on my list if I actually played them to at least beating them. The only reason they're not on my list is because I didn't play them enough. But I do agree with out of what I played, that what you said is pretty sound, pretty solid. It is really fantastic game.
Yeah.
But,
so even if the new formula has been used quite a bit, especially if you picked up New Super Mario Brothers 2, that game came out like a couple months before this one did. So that's why there was a lot of fatigue in the series at the time. I didn't pick up number 2, and I hadn't played Wii. And so like the last one I played was DS, and like I got through like maybe 3 worlds of that.
And then you redeemed the whole thing for you.
Yeah, because this was absolute, like, it was just a blast.
All right, we are on to our
Jack,
top dogs. Jack's got 2 wrapped in 1. Go ahead,
Jack. Tell us why.
Happening.
Mario Paints is actually the best Mario platformer,
and why it deserves 2 spots on your list.
Yeah.
Excuse you, my top 2 games are Hotel Mario and Mario is Missing.
I was gonna mention Mario's Missing as your other game.
God damn it, I knew it.
They're just perfect masterpieces,
hey,
and you can't disregard them. You can't distinguish them.
No, they're the same game.
Yeah.
But they're both, like, the best game ever made.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. No, my number 2 and number 1 are Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Not necessarily in that order. I don't have them ordered, for the record, but I also didn't want to be a cop-out and put them both in the number 1 spot. I'm like, no, I'm gonna put them both in 2 separate spots because they are 2 different games. I'm not gonna be a bitch, but I literally have no preference between the 2. Galaxy 1 is the first game to do what it did. It's a beautiful, massive, grandiose Mario space adventure with some great platforming and level design, great music. Overall, just a really amazing experience. Galaxy 2 is that again, but I'd say it's pretty samey, but I'd say the level design is a bit better, and it does add Yoshi and some better power-ups as well. So, I mean, overall, I love both games a lot. They're both in my top 5 games of all time. They're my favorite Wii games. They're my favorite Mario games, just in general. Favorite 3D platformers. I love these games.
Platformers.
Yeah.
Galaxy 2 does have some 2D sections, but no.
Favorite rhythm games? Favorite book series?
Yeah.
Sonic Colors is my favorite Mario Galaxy game.
Favorite MCU movies?
Favorite Sonic games.
They're probably the best Sonic games.
Yeah. Favorite food?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've talked about these games so many times. The games control amazingly. The level design is fantastic. I love how it's like some people don't like that it's like not quite 3D Mario in that the levels aren't quite as open as they were previously. It is like a point A to point B platformer, but I mean, who cares? It's still fun. What does that matter? Um, the gravity mechanic is like one of the only times in a video game where like gravity
It doesn't
actually
suck
control
ass.
it doesn't suck. Yeah, no, it controls like wonderfully, like no matter what. I mean, obviously there are some parts where like the game forces motion controls on you and you have to hold the Wii remote in your hand and you got to roll a ball or you got to control the manatee or whatever, and that doesn't control amazingly. But I mean, I don't really mind those sections. I don't really hate them enough that I'm like, this ruins my experience of the game overall. Um, but yeah, I mean, I will say that another point in favor of Galaxy 2 over Galaxy 1. Galaxy 1 is pretty easy just in general. Like there are a few levels that are pretty tricky, but overall it's a pretty like simple game to beat. Like it doesn't take much to 100 it doesn't take a ton of effort to 100% it. I think Galaxy 2, while not a hard game, is a fair bit more challenging, but again, I'm not going to say that 2 is better than the first one. I like them both pretty much equally. And the soundtracks are like some of my favorites ever. I don't remember, like, we did a top 10 soundtracks at one point, and I don't remember if that ever got uploaded, but I think this was my number one. I don't know, I might still have the document somewhere, but
You should
yeah, that's
find it if we did that.
let me see. Yeah, top soundtracks. Yeah, Mario Galaxy was my number one. So yeah, there you go. That's it's just overall I love these games so much. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
My number one is probably of no surprise to anyone that knows me pretty well. It is not only my favorite Mario game, but also my favorite Nintendo game, and my favorite, just of a lot of things. It's Super Mario Brothers 3. It's the only Mario game I have actually 100%ed, and it is also, for many reasons, the catalyst for a lot of things that would be put into a lot of Mario games in the future, and that's once again, I've mentioned this like on different entries in my list. A lot of things that I like from a Mario game, if it didn't come from Mario 2 with like with its weirdness, it came from Mario 3. There was world maps, they were implemented, they're really fun. Mario 3. Different world aesthetics. If you've seen it in a Mario game, it probably was inspired by something from Mario 3.
It's true.
It's a very iconic game that does so many things so right. I love the power-ups, like the Hammer Brothers suit is awesome, the Tanuki suit is awesome, Super Leaf is one of my favorite power-ups in any Mario game ever. Just being able to fly was, for the first time in a Mario game, was just this crazy thing that just opened up a whole new batch of like options for platforming. The fact that there's an inventory system, so like you can hold on to items, you can use them on the world map to address certain levels, just really good. It like Landon had mentioned, it doesn't have checkpoints, but also as a counterpoint, the levels are really bite-sized. They're long enough that you can really get your action in. You have a nice, tense, memorable level, or just a nice, fun romp of a level. But like, I never really felt like any of the levels were too short. And a lot of them do have enough side paths because of the different power-ups that can give you some sense of exploration without overdoing it, where like you can still like explore a little bit. There's a lot of levels in this game, and it was probably the first Mario game to do that too, just having so many levels. And just, oh god, it's so good. The music is really good. The Koopalings were here for the first time. The boss fights are pretty fun. The airships debuted in this game, and they're one of my favorite things in any Mario game is just the airships. I don't know why, I'm just a sucker for just airships. We need more of those. But I've said a lot about why I like Mario 3 in our top 10 favorite games ever list. So, I mean, just plug that, I guess. It's my favorite Mario game. And it will never not be.
But what if you could make your own Mario game?
It will not
Landon.
be when you
Yeah.
die.
Oh, that's true as well. Wow, thanks for that image, Jack. Anyway, the true king of Mario is none of the games that we've mentioned before. It is actually Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64. That is the best platformer. And before they try to argue with me, let me explain. There's platforming elements to the game. Okay, it's an RPG. Never mind. So, before I mention my number one, I would like to point out that I asked the chat before we made this list, does Mario Maker count? The answer was no. And had the answer be yes, I would have bumped everything from 2 downward and put it there, so Odyssey would have been fucking shot off this list hotter or faster than Jack could say yeet, which I still don't know what that means. And I don't want to explain to me, because then I sound like trendy or whatever. Anyway. Words. Anyway, Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker was a game that came out for the Wii U. And as much as a platformer as that is, it's also more of a spin-off than a
How much are you gonna drag this out, Landon?
I'm getting there.
Stop cock-teasing me and tell me already!
I'm 95% of the way there. You interrupted me. Now I'm going to start like a sentence back. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is a game that came out for the Wii U that was a sequel to my number one game, Super Mario 3D World, because Captain Toad was introduced, well, technically in Galaxy 2, but his gameplay was introduced in this damn game. Fight me. Okay. Outside of the Captain Toad parts, because those are legitimately fun in this game, the rest of the game is something I spent an ungodly amount of time playing, considering it's a multiplayer game. I played it all by myself, and I pretty much 100%ed it. I just have the last level to beat as 4 of the 5 characters, and then the last Toad House, I believe. I spent so much time in this game that I probably could have done just about anything else with my life and would have been successful. That is how much time I spent playing these levels over and over and over again. But I did that because I thought all of the levels were, for the most part, fantastic. I love all the worlds in this. The catsuit is pretty fun to play. Because it controls a little bit different from any other power-ups we've had before, being able to climb stuff, but also, if you're skilled enough, being able to chain, jumps, because you're able to do a mini diagonal glide downwards, and being able to chain that, hitting enemies, jumping up, doing stuff, is a fun levels are, to be had. All the levels are a little bit more open than 3D Land are, which is probably because it's a multiplayer game, but that also helps with sort of the design of hiding collectibles and just having a play box for you to use all the skills Mario players should have by the time they get to this game. Especially 3D, because it uses all the 3D mechanics that Mario's had. So all the different, the triple jump,
wall jumping,
the crouching, wall jumping, flip, crouch jumping, stuff like that.
Long jumping,
just super fun. Yeah, that too. Basically, it's what a lot of people think Super Mario Odyssey is, and I basically disagree because you can't play as Captain Toad in that game, nor can you play as Captain Toad in any other Mario game. That's my thesis. Thank you for coming out to our TED Talk. Quick, someone
Are you
end the
done?
video. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
God, please end it. Please, God.
Okay. Thank you for watching our top 10 Mario games. What are your top 10 Mario platformers? Tell us in the comments. Check out our MySpace, LinkedIn, Tinder, other link, our actual pages, our Facebook and Twitter.
Other social media we don't
we-
exist on.
Yeah,
Basically.
sure.
We
Um,
we are attempting to do Super Mario Maker 2 live streams, and by that we mean we will be displaying footage and then adding audio in post. We'll probably be doing more of that. We made a level, and we would like to play your levels too. So if you want that, go find one of the videos or in the comments of this one, leave us a course ID. And at some point, we will try to give it a shot. Especially more likely once those other two bumpkins get copies of the game. And Nintendo patches it
True.
so we can play together without playing with randoms.
Also true.
Yes.
Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye!
Well, that was the last